Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well. Yeah, I've lost audio on one channel. Everybody free. Just calm down. We'll fix it during the break. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Thursday, January 19th. 19 days into the new year, just 347 days left, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. All right, everybody, for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. With that, tonight is another Fadernight with Jon Rappoport and his No More Fake Newsroom live. And back to finish what we started last week, Sebastien Martin is here. Oh, we're going to finish what we started last week. Open lines all night long. All of those questions that you had, you'll be able to speak directly to Sebastien tonight. So we've got a long night in front of us. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. All right. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black or Jimmy Church Radio. Easy enough to do. Just go to the website right now and just click. Follow, like, and subscribe. You can email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. I'll get to as many as I can. I always do. Just make it good. Make it smart, and maybe it'll make its way into here. And if you're really lucky, I'll write back. I love my Fade to Black blend. All right. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. Very simple. On Twitter. Hashtag F2B. We don't bite. Come and hang out with us. And any questions or comments during the show tonight, it's hashtag F2BQ. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. And the revelations of that this week. Okay, what? I thought we agreed not to open phones until the entire story is told. I have no idea what that is or what's coming in here. Okay, so phone lines will be open tonight. And it is Fader night. Okay, Thursday night. All right. Where am I? The first big conference of the season is coming up, the Conscious Life Expo. It's February 13th, 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton right here in Los Angeles, California. Tickets, live stream, and info are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Followed by Contact in the Desert, May 19th through the 22nd in Joshua Tree, California. Tickets and info are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Please check out all of our sponsors. Right now, their banners are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Use the promo codes for discounts and free shipping. All of those promo codes are on the banners. All right, let's get this show cracking. Today, happy birthday to comedian Paul Rodriguez is 62 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today is Janis Joplin. 1943 to 1970, died at the age of 27. She released 5 charting singles during her 4-year career, including, of course, Me and Bobby McGee. She was found dead at the Landmark Motor Hotel right here in Hollywood, California, by John Cook, one of her road managers. And for me, Mercedes-Benz still gives me chills to this very day every time I hear it. But this is what's strange. Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, and Jim Morrison were all at the peaks of everything, and they all died at the age of 27. All right, on this day in history, Captain Charles Wilkes claims a portion of Antarctica for the U.S. That's right, in 1840. And then when he arrived in New York 2 years later, right, in 1842, he gets off his boat, jumps on the dock, and says, I'm quoting here, "I have great news. The earth is not flat." And then walked off, dropped the mic. That's right. For silencing all of the flat earthers out there, a 1,500-mile stretch of the eastern Antarctic coast was named Wilkes Land on this day in history. Fader fact, an Air India ground crew member died after he was sucked into the engine of a parked Airbus 320 with 100 passengers on board, and it was preparing for departure at Mumbai Airport back in 2015. And that is a Fader fact. All right. I'm adjusting a couple of things here because I am prepping for the break. I got to make sure we got all of this good. Okay. All right. Where am I? Tonight is another Fader night with Jon Rappoport and his No More Fake Newsroom. And back to finish what we started last week is Sebastien Martin. He is here. He will be here at the top of the hour. At the bottom of the hour, it is Jon Rappoport with his No More Fake Newsroom live. The call-in number tonight's 323-825-5045. I'll let you know when we open up the phone lines, and we'll get this show cracking. All right. Well, tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow's the big day. Trump will be sworn in as the 45th president of the United States. Tomorrow, we will call him President Trump. Wow. Pretty crazy, isn't it? In our current timeline, in our lifetime, we have seen some pretty big game-changing events. Too many to list here. But we have had the Vietnam War, the Gulf Wars 1 and 2, 9/11, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fall of the Soviet Union. Significant events have happened. More so now than probably any time in history. But tomorrow, the one thing that the media, the world, celebrities said couldn't happen is going to happen tomorrow. Trump, the Donald, got himself elected. Yes, this is a game changer. It's right up there with just about any event that you can think of. Seriously. You know, good or bad. So tomorrow, we decided to do a very special live broadcast. We're going to do this tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, and we're going to cover the inauguration. Now, we have to. It's our duty and our job to be your guide throughout what will probably be one of the most important days in our nation ever. 10 to 20 years from now, I think that we will definitely say that January 20th, 2017 was a very important day in history. We need to look at it in those terms. I'm not so sure that today we are aware of how heavy this week is. It's a very big deal. We are living it in real time, right? I don't think we understand the impact of it, but this is a very, very big day. And good or bad, that part doesn't matter, my friends. Having Donald Trump as our leader is a true game changer. What kind of game and what kind of changer? Only history will tell us the truth on that. But that is what matters. This isn't political. It's not. What I do is I cover the conspiracy of the world. And what is going on right now is pretty trippy because there's other things going on around the inauguration tomorrow that you may or may not be aware of, and they are all tied together. These are significant events that are happening. Now, it's the future. History is going to tell, right? That's the future, which is why we have co-hosting with me tomorrow on this live special event. We've got Mr. Andy Basiago, the time-traveling presidential candidate. Good guy, too. And we started to plan this show out, I'm going to say 3 months ago. And so this just didn't drop out of the sky today. But we wanted to do it correctly. So tomorrow we've got Andy Basiago here. And Andy, I'm going to say 3 months ago. It seems longer. I'm not so sure. Had called me and told me some things about the election and how this was going to play out. And it turned out he was right. And a year ago, he talked to me about this privately. And he's right. So we're going to talk about all of these things tomorrow. And that's the angle here. That's why tomorrow's show is so important. We are going to cover the conspiracy, the paranormal kind of fringe things that are going on behind the scenes. And we're going to do this in real time through the inauguration. So, you know what? Watch it on TV and then listen to us in real time. And you'll get the real story. Because it's important here to discuss these things. What will President Trump mean to ufology and disclosure? How, when those elected dudes go into the Oval Office and they come back out, I talk about this all the time, they're a changed person. And I think part of that is they go in, they sit down, and they get the debrief, they get the secret stuff, and they get the top secret security and everything, and everybody's sitting around, and it's the real stuff, and boom, everything's opened up in front of them. One of the things you can be sure that is disclosed to them is, are we alone? Have we been visited? What is going on? That hits them right in the face. And they walk out of the Oval Office and they are tripping because they are like, man, I suspected that UFO that I saw when I was 10 with my dad. Holy crap. They've been lying to this whole time. Now I understand why they've been lying to us. I think I need to talk about this, but I can't. And I was just threatened, and I know. And now I've got these security clearances, and I've got to be a patriot here. I've got to be an American. I can't do that. Oh man, and that's what's going on. Their head is swimming, and not only with the UFO part, but with everything that all the real stuff. That book of secrets, right? So we have that part of Trump. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And then there is the other side. Was this planned all along by big government, by the CIA, by the powers? Is the Illuminati and or the cabal involved with this? Is President Trump a card-carrying member of the elite? Is he going to get that phone call from the real boss the moment he steps into the Oval Office? Is that going to happen? Well, you know it is. We're going to answer all of these questions and much more tomorrow. We're also going to have a few other special guests calling in, and we'll be taking your phone calls live. It is a very important day in American history. Why? Let me tell you why. Let Uncle Jimmy warm you up. We had another significant news story break yesterday, and I don't know if you heard, but President Barack Obama commuted the sentence of Chelsea Manning. Now, this is a big deal. This is so big, and it's big for a couple of reasons. It's big because, first, Obama did it on his last real day in office. That's it. Today, he's cleaning out his desk. Tomorrow, he's gone. They're out. They're out. The White House is emptied. Obamas have moved down the street. But he did it because Trump probably wouldn't have. So he pulled the trigger. And I get that. I do. I fully get that. But I get it because of the other reasons that are involved here. Now, with Chelsea, before you say that lives were put in danger and you know, you have a job to do in the military and that oath was broken, and okay, I understand that. Then you have the other side. I've watched the video many times, and it's a horrific video to watch. Journalists out there in the street just getting shot with a 50 cal machine gun on the side of it's a crazy, horrific video to watch. So should it have been leaked? Yeah, of course. Now, Chelsea paid the price. Okay, was the sentence too heavy? None of that matters. 35 years, served 6 of it. Transgender, operations, he, she, all of that. None of that today matters. It's the conspiracy of what's going on with all of this, with Trump, Obama, Chelsea, and Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, because that comes into play. It's a crazy situation. That's why this week, the week of January 20th, it's not just Obama handing off the keys to Trump tomorrow. That's big. That's a big deal. But Chelsea Manning and WikiLeaks playing into it. And I've got a fourth thing that comes into play. But before I get to that, this directly involves Julian Assange. Assange has said in the past that he would come back to the United States and face his accusers if we, the United States, would release Chelsea. Now, if you didn't know that, he did. He made this very, very public. And now Obama has done just that. Julian has said today that he would stand by his promise to be extradited to the United States following Chelsea Manning's commutation. Now, she's not going to be released immediately. That's the fine print here, by the way. She's not walking out of prison tomorrow. Be cool if she did. And things may change on that, but right now, she's scheduled for release sometime in May of this year. After that, Assange says, after she's out of prison, after that, he's ready to head back to the United States. This is a big deal. I need you guys to understand and absorb everything. What does this mean for the future of WikiLeaks? I don't know. But I'm sure that Julian has all of his affairs in order, and he's got his system dialed. So all of this adds up, and will continue to add up to being one of the most important weeks in history, if ever. It's crazy stuff. And then you have a part 4. Listen to this. You have to add in to this entire mix that the Illuminati cabal World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, is going down right now, the day before the inauguration of Trump, deciding the future of everything, which is no bleeping coincidence. This is an insane week. How are your nerves? How are your nerves right now? Now that I painted that picture. Now, we've all known what's going to go on tomorrow. The inauguration, right? President Trump as of tomorrow. I get that. But when you throw everything else in here and the timing of everything, I'm telling you, this is going to play out to be one of the most memorable. You are going to look back on this week in 10 years, 20 years, next year, as being so significant, so heavy, these things going down all at the same time. Let's not forget, when the Bilderberg meeting went down in 2008 and everything that happened between Hillary and Obama and what was going on in the election at that time, things played out. At the very same time now on Inauguration Week, we've got the World Economic Forum going on. On top of that, we've got this situation with WikiLeaks. On top of that, we've got this thing with Chelsea Manning. All of this is intertwined. That's why I don't do politics. I do the conspiracy of politics. I am here to help you understand what is going on. It's absolutely crazy. Your nerves, your hands should be shaking. Mine are. But I consider it like this. These are exciting times, my friends, and we need to enjoy the moment. It's not going to be this fun for a long time. Well, maybe until next week. But that's the way that we need to look at it. If you look 3D through all of this, and you look to the left, you look to the right, you look down the center, and you look behind, and you look underneath, you see that all of these events are coming down on the same day. Now, there's something else. There's a fifth. And this fifth point is so significant that I'm not sure how to take it. Because right now, with the world still reeling from the events of the last few months, we have Brexit, we have the terrorist activity, we have Syria, we have ISIS, right? We have the election over here. We have the fake news that we have been dealing with. All of this comes into play. We have the Fed. Interest rates have finally been raised for the first time. The Dow at 20,000. So with all of that and the World Economic Forum going on at the same time, and Jon Rappoport and what he has been reporting on this show over the last year, and the movie Vaxxed, all of this is playing out. And then we have this announced today. With all of the media BS about the outbreaks of the deadly Ebola and the baby-deforming Zika viruses, governments and charities today announced that they have launched a $460 million initiative, $500 million, to outsmart infectious epidemics. Correction, alleged epidemics. Let's make that very clear. A $500 million project was announced at the Illuminati Cabal World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. And this is the part that everybody has missed. They are saying in advance that the next epidemics in 2017 that we are going to fight before they even happen are the deadly MERS virus, the Lassa virus, Lassa, and the Nipah virus, Nipah. That those three viruses in advance are going to be epidemics, and you don't even know. Now, at the World Economic Forum, and which is, Bill Gates is funding a lot of this and so forth, they are sitting around on Inauguration Week with everything that is going on, like I said, with WikiLeaks and Chelsea and Obama, that right now that they have their crystal ball in play, and these are the three viruses that are going to be epidemics this year. Now, how can they possibly know this in advance unless they want to plan it? And that's what's going on in Davos. This is crazy. Now, I've spoken to Jon Rappoport about this. It's being announced for the first time on this show. This is such big news and so crazy. And when we are talking about conspiracies, and we are talking about the Illuminati and the New World Order and the Cabal and who is really running things, and I get wind of this, and Jon gets wind of this, we are going to stay in front of this for the entire year. And you heard it here first. That's why I discuss the conspiracy of politics. It's not politics out front. It's not that. When I bring up Trump and I bring up what's going on and what is heavy about this week and why we are broadcasting tomorrow and why it's so important and why this week is so heavy, now you know. I need you to sit back and absorb everything that I just laid out on you right now. It's that big of a deal. So, with that, my friends, tomorrow, okay, 9 a.m., I need you to dial in right here. We're going to be on KGRA. We'll be on TalkStream Live. We'll be on all of our normal networks. All of the feeds are going out. We're going to broadcast live. I think that the day is a very heavy one. It's a very important one. I'm not sure how it's going to play out next week or the week after or the week after. I don't know. I do know this. Trump getting elected to office is a game changer. And we're going to see how it's going to play out. But it's going to start tomorrow. We will utter the words from here on out. President Trump. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And hopefully, am I running right? Is this running? Oh, don't tell me that it is not. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. We should be running and we're not. Oh, yeah, here we go. We're running. We're running. We're good. We're good. It's all good. Whew. Fade to Black. Coming up next, Jon Rappoport and his No More Fake Newsroom. Top of the hour, Sebastien Martin. When he gets here, we're going to do a rundown of his appearance last Wednesday, and then we're going to pick things up from there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back with Jon Rappoport and his No More Fake Newsroom. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station where the Fader Knots rock.
By
This is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
And now, coming to you from the No More Fake Newsroom in deep space, which is the space that we suspect to be true, that the world as it is fed to us every day by the Ministry of Truth is a lie, a false reality, a movie projected on the screen of our subconscious. This, however, is the breakout. All the screens crash, they all go down, and we see the light of day, a new day. No more robots, no more androids. It's the No More Fake Newsroom with Jon Rappoport. Take it away, John.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you. Good to be here, everybody. Lots of news. Lots of news. Jimmy and I were talking before the show, and he tipped me to a breaking story, which he and I discussed, and we're going to be following this. So you're hearing about it first on Fade to Black. Davos, the World Economic Forum, the big shots, the controllers, the global elite meet and greet and discuss how they're going to carve up the world, only they're in deep trouble now because globalism and the media that represent it are falling. I've talked about that before, but the breaking news story is that they are predicting the next 3 pandemics, and they're naming them as the subject of research and development of vaccines, backed up by Bill Gates Foundation. It's one of these public-private partnerships that we hear so much about. Government agencies, government money, that means tax money, foundation money, corporate money. We've got to develop vaccines for epidemics that don't exist. Okay, let's go. You know, they still think it's their world. And of course, I've documented for a long time one phony dud epidemic after another, and I've described the whole operation behind it, what's going on. And in a nutshell, there are 2 things happening. One is these are all efforts to frighten populations with dire predictions of horrible things going to happen to everybody, and to enforce compliance on citizens in general. Not just medical compliance, although that's big, but any kind of compliance. Your government tells you, be afraid of this, take that vaccine, do this, go there. This is all operant conditioning. Keep on promoting these fake epidemics, one after another, that, as you notice, they just fade away after a while. Nobody talks about them anymore. Swine flu, bird flu, smallpox, Ebola, on and on and on, SARS, etc., etc. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these guys who still think that they're running the world are talking about 3 viruses: MERS, M-E-R-S, Lassa, which is a hemorrhagic fever, supposedly, and Nipah, N-I-P-A-H, a virus that I never heard of before tonight, which supposedly resides in fruit bats in Malaysia and now in Ghana. So they're claiming that this has already jumped from animals to humans, and there is human-to-human transition, and there may be as many as, I don't know, out of global population of, what is it now? 8 billion people, more. There might be 7 human cases, maybe, we're not sure, and therefore this is going to be the next worldwide global pandemic, right? And the other operation that is part and parcel of the whole vaccine cartel is the ability to poison, let's use the right word, populations with the ingredients in the vaccines, and also to insert covertly, if they want to, other more destructive elements in these vaccines under the radar, such as the bishops, the Catholic bishops of Kenya, who I think it's 2 years ago now, raised the alarm that a vaccine was being given to pregnant age women that contained a hormone that, once injected, could trigger, in many cases, miscarriages when these women became pregnant. There are more details to that, but that's the essence of it. In other words, a depopulation agenda. So that's a bit of the background. $460 million is what they're talking about as a starter fund, the people at Davos, to develop a vaccine system not only for these three viruses, but here's what Bill Gates, the king of all vaccines, is saying. He's saying we need an automatic setup so that whatever the next virus is that comes down the pipeline, we have everything in place and just have to plug in the particular component of that vaccine so that we can start manufacturing immediately and give it to everybody. So we don't have to spend months, maybe years, developing a vaccine. It's all robotic. It's all automatic. It's all being done without the informed consent or any kind of consent by the global population. That's where they're going. And they have cited, for no reason, these three as the next biggies: MERS, Lassa fever, and Nipah, which they're calling NIV in a clever little move to make people think of HIV. Yeah, the boys are busy and they're at it again. And I'm going to segue from there into a story about swine flu once again, because I've come up with some new, just killer info on this. I've been through this story before in Fade to Black, so I'm not going to try to lay out the whole thing, but I'm going to try to boil it down. 2009, it was announced on the basis of 20 cases worldwide that we had the highest level of pandemic warning from the World Health Organization, a new virus that had never been seen before, or something that had rarely been understood or noticed, H1N1, and that was the cause of swine flu. And it turned out to be a total dud epidemic. But it was promoted worldwide. People in droves stayed away from the vaccine. It turned out that the CDC was lying through its teeth about the number of cases, ballooning them completely out of proportion based on no laboratory evidence whatsoever. In fact, the evidence showed, which they suppressed until Cheryl Atkinson, investigative reporter for CBS, uncovered the whole scam, that the CDC had secretly stopped counting cases because overwhelmingly all the blood samples coming back from labs from most likely swine flu patients were completely without any trace of this virus for swine flu or any other flu. All right. That was a gigantic scandal. But here's where the story gets to be quite fantastic. The swine flu fake epidemic supposedly originated in Mexico, in a village called La Gloria, where there was a Smithfield, huge pig farm. This is not to be visualized as 30 or 40 or even 100 pigs running around. These are factory farms, gigantic, huge numbers we're talking about here. So a friend of mine gave me a book called Crimes Against Nature by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who may be heading up a Trump investigation of vaccine safety, by the way. And he begins writing about these gigantic pig farm corporate operations in the U.S., in Poland, that was coming from Smithfield. And of course, as I've told you, this giant operation in La Gloria, Mexico, where workers started dying, and all of a sudden the CDC sent down their epidemic specialists who decided immediately, because that's what they do, that it was all about a virus and it was really a disease, and that led to the whole announcement of swine flu is going to destroy half the planet, when in fact this was an environmental situation completely. So listen to this, first of all, from the National Geographic, of all people, October 30, 2014. To handle all that pig farm feces waste, farmers in North Carolina use a standard practice called the lagoon and spray field system. They flush feces and urine from barns into open-air pits called lagoons, which in turn color Pepto-Bismol when pink-colored bacteria colonize the waste. To keep the lagoons from overflowing, farmers spray liquid manure on their fields nearby. The result, says Steve Wing, an epidemiologist at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, is this: the eastern part of North Carolina is covered with shit. That's from the National Geographic. All right. Now, you have to understand, as I've written in an article, giant companies like Smithfield have influenced legislators and government agency officials. Environmental laws and regulations are ignored or changed. Lawsuits are fought hammer and tongs. All right. Here's what Robert F. Kennedy told a radio interviewer this year. A hog produces 10 times the amount of fecal waste by weight as a human being, so that if you have a facility that has 10,000 hogs in it, it's producing as much sewage as a city of 100,000 people. Smithfield has one plant in Utah, they call it Circle 4 Farms, that has 1 million hogs on it, so it's producing the same amount of waste as New York City every day. Got it? All right. Kennedy goes on to say, basically, that these giant corporate pig operations should have to have a sewage treatment plant that cleans it all up, right? And yet, if they had to build that plant, it would drive the price of hogs up so that they could no longer function in the marketplace. So they just spread this shit all over everywhere where they have these giant pig facilities. All right? And one of those was in La Gloria, Mexico. And let me describe it in a little more detail. These giant lagoons outdoor in the sun of pig feces, because they have, like 1 million pigs in Utah. Who knows how many pigs they have down in La Gloria, but it's gigantic. Lagoons of fecal waste from pigs out there. Now, they spray huge numbers of toxic chemicals, into the lagoons to try to neutralize them. Obviously didn't work in 2009, so workers began dying down there, as they would, working around that much fecal sewage with God knows what's happening in it, plus all the toxic chemicals, plus they brought in new workers with new chemicals to spray without any announcement of how toxic these chemicals were, and the workers die. Imagine yourself living, let's say, in a sewer under a city with all kinds of fecal waste and biting insects and foul water and foul air. That'll give you just a vague idea. And then you get sick, right? So then you take out your cell phone. I mean, crazy, right? And you make a call, rescue me. But instead of hazmat workers and, emergency personnel showing up, instead, the CDC sends down virus hunters, and they take a blood sample from you, and they say, well, obviously, this is a terrible disease. It must be caused by a virus. We don't even know what it is, but we're going to go back to the lab and figure it out, right? This is a total diversion and a distraction and a covert op. This whole thing with the virus hunters and the disease and the labs and the testing and the bap-a-da-bop and the virus to cover up and protect giant corporate interests and their ability to continue to spread shit all over the world with these gigantic facilities that are completely and utterly toxic. But to prevent exposure, as I've said many times, the virus is the greatest cover story in the world. Oh, we have a new disease, and it could be epidemic in proportions, and it started on this pig farm in Mexico, and now the CDC has sent down its best researchers, and we found the virus H1N1, and it's spreading all over the world, blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe they found a virus, maybe they didn't, but whatever. The virus is probably, let's say, if it exists at all, it's been around for a couple 100,000 years. You can find it anywhere in the world if you look for it, and it's never caused any dire condition at all. But they can say that it does, and they can begin to map it and chart it and track it and talk about the spread from here to there to bobbity boobity beebs bob, and all the time they are protecting giant agricultural corporate interests, namely the pig farms, which I hope I have described well enough now so that you can visualize what we're talking about here. And protect these corporations from having to have sewage treatment. They can just spread this all over the landscape. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. makes a vital distinction here. The small pig farmer, who of course is being put out of business all the time by the Smithfields of this world because they can't compete. The small hog farmer takes the manure from the pigs and spreads it on his field as fertilizer, compost, if you will, for the growth of crops. But the giant corporate agricultural farmer can't do that because there is such a surfeit, an excess of pig feces that it doesn't work. There's the amount of feces greatly outflank the amount of land that there is there. So it just gets into the groundwater. It's spread out in the open in these lagoons. It gets into rivers. It gets into the soil. The elements get into the air. It gets everywhere. No sewage treatment, because suddenly that would not be cost effective. Well, somebody has to cover this up and protect all these worldwide operations from being shut down or from being restructured so that suddenly there are sewage treatment plants and the profits of these corporations dive and their stock prices go down, et cetera, right? Somebody's got to protect all that, right, in the world of business as business. And so here's the ideal solution. We'll say it's all a virus. We'll say it's a disease. It's not a disease. People get sick when they live in sick environments. It's as simple as that. You can prove it. Go to a sick environment in a locality, clean it up, clean up the contaminated water supplies, do everything to clean it up and the sanitation and so forth, and eventually the population will begin to get healthy. No drugs, no vaccines, no treatment, no virus announcement, no nothing. I've been documenting this for man, almost 30 years now, in various so-called epidemics. Same pattern. I had not discovered this final element here of the commercial pig farm operations until I opened up Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s book, Crimes Against Nature. And then the entire final picture became clear. And so, notice this. One of these three viruses, Nipah, that they're suddenly predicting, oh, the next epidemic, oh yeah, it infects pigs, they say. Yet another wonderful cover story that they can use. Oh, all these workers that are dying, etc., in the corporate pig farms. Oh yeah, we've discovered they're dying of Nipah. That's the next giant swine flu-like epidemic that they could announce. Another beautiful cover story. NIV. Right? You see where this is going? I mean, I know this audience is interested in conspiracies, and here's one that you can really grab onto. This is absolutely gigantic. Corrupting government legislators, environmental officials, law passing so that they get these corporations, agricultural corporations, get a free pass. Medical cartels, CDC, fake announcements of fake epidemics. The destruction of the environment as this toxic waste seeps everywhere. I mean, come on. You want a conspiracy? There it is. And the whole thing at Davos, where they are just basically telling the population, here are the next three fake epidemics that we're going to scare you with and get you vaccinated with. That's the other component of this whole story, the vaccines. And they are MERS, M-E-R-S, Lassa, and Nipah. Yep. And we're going to have an automatic vaccine machine system that just plugs it in whenever we need one for whatever we decide is the next epidemic, and we're going to try to subject you to it. And the vaccine manufacturers will make untold billions, if not trillions of dollars as this keeps on going. And we will have a compliant population that does whatever we tell it to do. Well, this is all breaking down, folks. The whole system, the whole con, the whole covert op, all of the shit is breaking down. Their shit. Because it's all being exposed. And what I've given you here tonight, maybe 3 or 4, 10 people in the world, in terms of reporters and investigators, would have an immediate handle on all of this. Yeah, maybe that sounds like I'm boasting, but I'm just laying it out for you. Maybe 10 other researchers would be jumping on all of this as quickly and seeing all of the components. I have been exposing this for 29 years. The virus as the cover story, calling environmental destruction a disease when it is not a disease. It is environmental destruction. That's what it is. Okay, folks. Okay, Jimmy. We'll be tracking these 3 viruses to see what the global con artists are going to do with them, and we'll keep you updated.
Wow. Potty mouth, John. Potty mouth. Potty mouth. Are you upset?
Yeah, because I want people to grasp this whole thing. People are so hypnotized by the idea of a virus. They announced a new virus.
Right.
Go behind it.
Right.
See why they did.
And the inauguration is tomorrow, and with the World Economic Forum that's going on over in Davos, and all of these other significant things like Chelsea Manning, getting commuted this week by Obama, which ties in directly to Assange. Assange now wants to be a man of his word. He said that he would come back to the United States and face the music if she was released from prison. All of this happened all at the same time, and then you throw in Davos, which is obviously the the powers that be that are, running the world and figuring out which direction the economy is going to go and other events. And then you throw in these virus things. I mean, it's a pretty dramatic week for news that has tied itself together. It's very incestuous, all of this information.
I would say so. Because it all has to do with who's got the power, who's got the control, and who is going to win. And like I said a few minutes ago, the joker in the deck here, the wild card, has emerged, and it is us.
Right. Yeah, the alternative, the fringe. And nobody else, and you bring up a really good point before I head to a break, and I want to thank you for this. There isn't really anybody else that's got the courage to step up and speak about these things. You know, you see these press releases and they just kind of go by. And unless you and I are out there to pick up on this, it comes and goes and it's gone. It's into the ether. And the world itself doesn't know anything about it. Why do you think no journalist wants to go out there? Those days, it seemed like journalism was about grabbing these stories, right? That was the sport of it. And nobody wants to do it anymore. Why is that?
Because they lose their jobs. In a nutshell, because the control over the profession of journalism, if you want to track it back 100 years, you can see that it's tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening. So no longer do the publishers of newspapers or the television news networks see it as a positive that they have broken through into the truth in a hidden area that was kept from the public. That's no longer a plus.
Right.
That's no longer like we can sell newspapers, man. This is going to be great, and our profits will soar, and people will, No, it's not looked at that way anymore. It's looked at as an intrusion. We don't cover that stuff.
No,
this is what reporters tell me. They've been telling me this for years. We could be writing what you're writing about. I said, well, write it then. Well, we would get fired. And I say, well, that's too bad. You're going to have to find other employment.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. And I think that the public now is starting to realize that the real news, comes from us. And that's what's interesting here. Well, tomorrow, John will be doing this live broadcast during the inauguration. I invite you onto the show and give us your 2 cents about these events tomorrow. And maybe we'll see you tomorrow on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Jon Rappoport, NoMoreFakeNews.com. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back with Sebastien Martin. We'll kick off Fadernight. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
And you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. This is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I went from being able to work 14, 16 hours a day with no problem to where I could barely walk a block to the store. I went on to the phytonutrients about 6 months ago, and within a couple of months, my medical doctor had cut my prescriptions down in a little bit smaller dosage. The next time I went back a month later, I walked into the doctor's office and he said, "My gosh, what's happened to you? You don't even look like the same person." He looked at my legs and the swelling had gone down. My blood pressure was down. The venous stasis ulcers that I had had on my legs for the last 4 or 5 years because of the poor circulation were all healed, and I'm feeling far better.
The new challenge will allow you to receive 2 months of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies free. And we'll even ship them to you free. Call now for details. Call 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code TALK.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black, Fadernight. So this is what we're going to do tonight. Our guest tonight is Sebastien Martin. We're going to pick up where we left off last Wednesday. It was a great show. But too much to cover. We didn't get it all in, so Sebastien has been gracious enough to come back tonight on Fadernight, which will allow us the time also to take your phone calls. Now, I have not opened up the phone lines yet. They've already been ringing, and I get that, but we're not going to open up the phone lines until Sebastien and I are ready. Okay, we're going to finish his story. Now, what I want to do before I bring Sebastien in is I want to do a little bit of a recap. And this is it. This is Sebastien's story. In 1975, he was born. And he later found out that he had a twin that was there. But that twin, without going into details, was with him but wasn't alive. Okay? And after he was born, he lost his skin. And he didn't have any skin, and for 6 months without skin, his skin just grew back. All right, now he had a very interesting childhood, and part of that, he was a bit of a loner, but he ended up seeing a child psychologist and things from 1986 to 1988. But at the age of 16, he started to develop some talents, and one of them was automatic writing. And he wrote down symbols that he called Chinese. He never knew what they were, but he did pages and pages of this. He also started to have visions and had seen a classmate of his, a girl, get into an accident in this vision on a motor scooter. Now, that ended up happening a year later, but that got him into trouble in school because he actually talked about it, and he probably shouldn't have. He wrote it down. Well, okay. Also, during this period, he was seen in 2 places at the same time. Also very strange. And then I want to move forward a little bit. He started a very successful company. which developed into other things and turned into an international corporation with lots of employees, and they grew and grew and grew. And while this was going on, he had somebody show up in his home while he was sitting on the couch, and it turned out his name was Zor from the Galactic Federation. They had a conversation, and he was also having visions at the same time of traumatic world events, big things, and it was weighing him down emotionally, and these visions continued. He also continued contact with E.T. and started regression therapy. And through that regression therapy, he also found out that he may have been abducted and saw the craft. And then there were some time regression things that happened too as well that went back. So all of this combined to the present day, where Sebastien has decided to take not only his business knowledge, but the knowledge that he has acquired through the Galactic Federation, and has decided to share this information and to get other researchers to come back to him. He has started a website. It's called Nshuho.com, NSUHO.com, where he wants to get a collective of everybody together with their knowledge to start to share this knowledge that he is acquiring. Now, that is an abbreviated version of what went down last Wednesday. A lot of information. I encourage any of you that didn't hear that show after tonight's presentation, go back and listen to last Wednesday's show with Sebastien, and then you can listen to this show and then and put it all together. But his story and what he is doing is an important one. In November 2011, those stressful visions of catastrophic timelines, such as earthquakes and tsunamis and turmoil day and night, which ended up disrupting his ability to work efficiently. And then a teenage face appears in his dreams, which ended up haunting him during the day. And unlike other dreams, the teenager's face was still present during the day. Okay, that's where we are at. Contact with fifth dimensional beings. Tonight, we're going to pick up where we left off, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Sebastien Martin. Sebastien, good evening. Sebastien? I've got you here. Where are you?
I'm here, Jimmy. Sorry. Thank you very much for having me back on your show.
Don't freak me out like that, man.
Sorry about that.
Don't freak me out. Rita will... I got to deal with that. Okay. All right. So you're here. And
Yes.
And thank you for coming back and finding the time. And I just did a little recap, and I know that you were listening to it. There was so much information last week to go through a detailed recap of last week's show would have just taken up too much time tonight. Right. And so, again, I encourage everybody to go back and listen to last Wednesday's show. I do remember this. The last thought that came into my mind, and we ran the show to the end of the night, right? That was it. There was no more time left. But this is where I was going to go, and this is where I want to pick up here tonight. One of the things that you kept expressing throughout the interview, that these were ETs that didn't threaten you, right? That you feel a very positive vibe from them.
Yes.
What about the negative side of ET contact that we hear about constantly, that there are good and bad out there? Mm-hmm. What do you say when I asked you about that? Is there bad out there, or have you seen anything negative, or has it all been just a positive experience?
No, I have seen good and bad. The bad side of things is the visions I had about the reptilian race. I'm sure you all heard about it, but my experience with that is from the Pleiadians when they talked to me as part of the council and the federation, is that there was a group of aliens who basically decided on the fate of the human race. And I mentioned last week that the human race was developed over time, and there were 5 attempts to get to where we are today. That's what I got from them. What I also understood is that the reptilian race was part of the Federation a long time ago. And after they realized that the Draco race especially was following their own agenda and was not playing the games and trying to go back to Earth and pretty much take control, they were booted out by the Alliance. And this led to them being sent away and for us to be protected all this time. What I understand is it could be as long as 6,000 years. So it's not very long, but at the same time, the information I got last time I basically addressed them was that the alliance between Pleiadians and other races, which includes the Greys, by the way, and there are different types of Greys, but the Greys and the Pleiadians and other types of races that are mostly in the 5th dimension will be, deciding on the fate of human race again, and they just realized that they failed again. They didn't believe that we reached the level of consciousness that was intended, and so they kind of voted on that and decided to give up on the human project. So that way, some of the Pleiadians and some of the races who are part of the Council and the Alliance decided to still follow their agenda by themselves. So pretty much protecting their own hybrids and creations on Earth. If we are all hybrids on this planet, we each belong to a certain race. And that was pretty much the message I got from the Pleiadians. And that kind of led them to tell me and share with me that my role coming back, to Earth was to awaken human consciousness and awaken the star seeds of this planet without any guidance, without any help whatsoever. So I was kind of left in a blur, and as a businessman, I had no clue whatsoever on how to approach this. And 5 years ago, especially, I was really more like dealing with visions and so on still, and that was pretty problematic for me. And while the visions calmed down and I was more tuning into what was happening to me, I was kind of almost like listening in, trying to open myself up to what could come next. But nothing really truly came from the Pleiadians apart from saying, you have to go to Mount Shasta. And this kind of message came back, more vividly as time went by. And so by August of 2015, I went to Mount Shasta after convincing my wife that, I had to go there for whatever reason. And I never really had any personal intent to go there. But so after a while, she let me go. And I didn't know what to look for there whatsoever. I didn't know anything about Mount Shasta, if it was part of, the earth chakras or anything else. I had no clue whatsoever. Right. Never really had time to research it. So when I went there, I basically, went to base camp, and I enjoyed the scenery and so on, and absorbing the energy. And there was a book in that lodge at base camp, and I was reading the book, and it was written by a local author who was talking about the history of Mount Shasta and his own experience about going to the south side of the mountain and seeing this temple, this Lemurian temple. And so when that happened, and I don't remember if I actually mentioned that last time or not, but I don't think I have. And basically, the story went, and I basically decided to contact the author, and to find out that the author was not really in a phone book or nowhere. And I reached out to his publisher in New York. And so the same day, the publisher basically, called me back, I called the publisher, and she answered, and I basically sent her an email to hopefully, reach out to the author. And within 15 minutes, the author replied to me by email saying, Sebastien, I'm actually living in San Francisco and I'm on my way to Mount Shasta tomorrow. Let's meet at the local campsite and we can discuss things. So we did that. And the next day I met with him and he basically listened to my story, my visions, my kind of experiences. And then I said, I was really, intrigued by the fact that you went to the south side of the mountain with your son and dog and saw this temple that you could not approach. And the energy was so strong that you backed away and marked the emplacement of the temple on a tree and left. And when you came back later on your own, the temple was gone. So I said I would be interested to go there on the south side of the mountain and see it for myself. And then he said to me that there was basically like a heavy rainfall and I could not really access the road to get to that place. And then he said, what you are telling me, Sebastien, is very interesting because I really lived that experience, but I never wrote it in my book. So I was basically having a vision of him having this experience while reading his book while I was at the lodge.
Wow, that's incredible.
The day before.
Right.
And so, he smiled and said to me, he was just like, he kept looking at me in a very, interesting way. And he said, what I've been told, and the reason why I'm here with you today is because while I was on my way to Mount Shasta, my spirit guide told me to meet with a foreigner. And 15 minutes later, while I was unpacking my bags in the motel, because he was actually on his way to Mount Shasta, but he left very late at night. And with the traffic, he just decided to stay outside San Francisco. And that's when I basically reached out to him. And it kind of confirmed his vision or channeling, I guess, I don't know, with his spirit guide. And so when he met with me, he said, what my guide told me is, no, you're not supposed to be going to the south side of the mountain, but you are supposed to be going to the north side of the mountain because there is a point about Lemuria that is more ancient. And even for myself, and I'm very experienced, and I can't open up that portal or that Stargate for the Lemurians. But for some reasons you can. And I really don't know how or anything else. And he said to me, you just have to go there and see for yourself. And I said, well, that's great. I'm game. What should I do? And he said, well, you just have to, look for the big rock. I don't know if you've been to Mount Shasta, but the whole mountain is made of rock. And so I said, well, that's great, but what any other clues? And he said, well, you will see. You know. I said, okay. So I basically decided to go in the morning, knowing that he also told me that I should be going at about 10,000 feet in altitude. And as I started my trip to on the path, the path led to other path, and I didn't really know where to go. So I followed my intuition to follow the right path. And I ended up at about 10,400 feet. And because there's a cell tower, I believe, on the north side of the mountain, I had very good cell reception. And I had an altitude showing on my cell phone saying, okay, I'm out now at 10,400 feet. And I don't really see anything really interesting. I'm arriving at that point at the glacier point. And so it was full of ice. And I look around and then all of a sudden I see a rock. I say, oh, that must be the rock. So I walk towards it and I touch it, hoping for something to happen. And then a deep voice speaks to me and says, almost like, not this rock, you dummy, the other rock. It's just leading me to the other direction. Right and on. I looked around, in full surprise, and I saw this black rock sitting on a 45-degree angle on the side of the mountain above the path I came from. And I really didn't know, when I looked at it, not only I knew it was a very different rock for the way he looked at me, and I felt observed all along. Like as I was walking up to this rock, I felt observed. And it became even more increasingly freakish. And when I looked at that rock and I saw the gravel rock along the way, I said to myself, there's no way I'm going there. It's just too dangerous. I haven't even told anybody I was going up there. And, I just simply don't want to die. It's just as simple as that. There was about like 1,000-foot drop on the edge from the path I was from. And I said, I'm not going there. It's just too risky. And after a while and looking around, I just thought to myself, I didn't really spend the whole day walking up to the side of the mountain to stop and go back. So I decided to start walking towards the rock, on that loose rock. And all of a sudden, the rock started to slip underneath my feet. And I really panicked, and I thought I was going to die. And then the rock stopped, and I looked behind myself, and I just thought, I'm almost like halfway through. There's no way I'm coming back. So I basically carried on. And as I walked towards the rock, just before I could touch it, I could hear a very deafening sound that was like something that was shutting down.
Okay.
And I stopped and I looked around and nothing else happened. I basically just carried on walking towards the rock, touched it, waited for something else, something like a portal opening up or something.
Right.
And then the same voice said to me, all right, you are done, go home.
What?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it. So it was very deceiving. While I was there, standing on the edge of that cliff, I thought, well, okay, what should I do next? And I looked around. I said, no, I'm not coming back from where I came from. And I managed to make my way back to the path I, walked from. And I just went around the rock and walked down and walked back up to where I was, next to the glacier point. And as I was looking around, all of a sudden I saw 3 flags, for what looked like 3 Tibetan flags flying on the horizon.
Okay.
I believe it was towards the south and southeast, I guess, on the peak. And they were flowing in the wind, and they had like 3 different colors, very bright colors. Like I think it was there was definitely like yellow, red, and I think the other one was orange. And when I was looking, I think it was purple. And when I looked at them, I looked around to see if I could see something else, because it was so far away that I couldn't even distinct any faces or anything else. But I knew they were kind of silhouettes of some sort at the end. When I looked around, because I was feeling observed from all over the place, I couldn't see anything else. So my gaze went back onto those 3 flags or 3 silhouettes, and they were gone. So... Wait.
Okay. I'm going to let you continue, but you're saying that you saw them, you saw the colors, they were real, they're flowing in the wind.
Yes.
And these were real objects. This wasn't like a mirage or...
No. They appeared to me like Zo appeared to me, or, like
these are real.
Form. Yeah.
And you go and you go back to the same, and they're just gone.
Yeah, they've vanished. Like basically, by the time I basically spent like a few seconds looking around, and when I look back at those silhouettes, with their flowing robes in the wind, they were gone, and I basically just was waiting for something to happen, and nothing really else happened. So as I basically was there, I just rested for a bit, and after a while, it was getting late. I just decided to go back. And on my way back, as I was walking down, I was still feeling observed from all over the place. Then the same deep voice who spoke to me earlier then said to me, and by the way, never come back.
What?
And I was like feeling so sorry for myself. I said, why are you so mean to me? I'm a very nice guy, And so I just, kept going and going, and then I just left the mountain. And that was my Mount Shasta experience on that day. And as I went back into town, I met another French woman who was actually living illegally in America. And she's now back to France. She paid for a plane ticket to go back to France. And so because she was a homeless woman, basically, she had very bad experiences, and she didn't appear to be like a homeless woman, but she was still living like in a tent in a forest outside Mount Shasta. And she basically was, involved into, local shamanism and so on. And she was trying to keep up with the Joneses, let's say, but she was not really, she was in a very, poor state. And so, when I met her, I didn't know she was a homeless woman, but I went to the local health food store to have lunch, and she overheard me speaking French to someone on the phone, and she basically spoke to me in French. And so, I spoke to her back, and then we had this conversation, and then she said there was an event or gathering happening on the south side of the mountain, close to a parking lot, and looking at the Perseids, shooting stars, meteor shower. And I went there, and the same night I had my own car. I drove up there. We had to leave our cell phones and technologies in the car, and we were all basically sitting down in the freezing cold weather at a very high altitude. And while I was looking around for the meteor shower, I also saw some spacecrafts, basically like lights. Weird. It was not material. It was more like lights shooting into the mountain, and it was coming out of it as well very quickly, like in and out of the mountain. It was pure bright light, and it was so strange that I asked the woman. I said, what's that? And she said to me, oh, these are the spirits of the mountain. That's what she called it. And after a while, we looked around, and there was this wobbling UFO just arriving on the horizon, and there were about like 50 people just at that gathering, and we're all looking at it so close to us. I mean, it was not more than I would say 100 feet away from us.
Right.
And it was like wobbling around, no sound whatsoever, but we could see all the lights on it, and I could not really see the actual shape. It was pitch black.
How big? How big was it?
I would say it was not that big. It was not that large. But I would say it was probably about 100 to 150 feet.
Oh, that's
large.
huge. That's huge.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not as long as this.
Okay, but that's still big. It's not a drone.
It was still big, but it was not like it was not like a helicopter or like a jet airplane. It was larger than that, but still, warped. I mean, it was very high. It was higher than it was long. And it kind of wobbled just in front of us and then disappeared on the horizon. And during all this time, everybody's gaze was just like, we're just all looking at it, godsmacked, not even saying a word.
Right.
And no one had any technologies on themselves. So we couldn't even like grab a cell phone or try and take a picture of it. And we just basically were just wowed. But I guess a lot of people there already knew about these events over here.
Well, we're going to hit a break right here. Okay, so let's do that. But really quickly, did you have any idea about the history of Mount Shasta before you got there?
No, not at all.
Yeah, because this kind of stuff probably wouldn't have surprised you. But I do find it interesting that the mountain itself wasn't that friendly, was it? I mean, you're invited there to hang out. You're told where to go. You go where, and they're like, well, you know what? Okay, turn around, pal.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Okay, let's take a break right here. When we come back, I do want to remind everybody that tomorrow morning we are going to do a very special event tomorrow, live, Fade to Black at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, live, the inauguration. My special co-host will be Andrew Bashago. More with Sebastien Martin after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carzanet Tiburón y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
You get a Zeepa. You get a Zeepa, you hear me?
What's the name when you snort? It's Zeepa, Zeepa. It's the thing we're craving for. It's Zeepa, Zeepa. You can sleep all night. Zeepa, Zeepa. And wake up feeling right. It's Zeepa, Zeepa. Makes me love my husband more. 'Cause he no longer snores. Zeepa, Zeepa. It's Zeepa.
Zipa's different than any other device because it actually works. A lot of these other devices, they just bring the jaw forward, that's it. However, the thing that makes Zipa different, it stabilizes the tongue, basically, with this elastic band. But right here, Jimmy's telling you that this is a unique device. Go to Zipa now, buy it, and stop the snoring. Get a Zipa, ZYPPAH.com. Zipa.com. That's ZYPPAH.com.
Oh, fall. My favorite time of year. Cooler temperatures and, well, let's be honest, layers. Lots and lots of layers. Look, I get it. We all have that favorite hoodie. Matter of fact, I've got a few favorite hoodies. You should wear yours. Enjoy it. I do. But I stay focused on my health year-round. And for me, I take Nature's Youth RSF from nature'syouth.com. Nature's Youth RSF from nature'syouth.com. I eat right, control my portion sizes, still maintain a commitment to regular fitness, and I get plenty of rest, and I take Nature's Youth RSF. It's okay to cover up your beach body for a few months, but don't just forget about it. Nature's Youth understands exactly what it means to provide top-quality health products, and Nature's Youth customers not only improve their health, they know they're also providing their body with the right nourishment to maintain peak performance levels and fight the aging process. So layer up and get started today with Nature's Youth RSF. nature'syouth.com. Simple to use, even simpler to order. Go to nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. This portion of the show, Fadernight, brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. It's dark, it's complex, it's smoky. Just go to the River Moon Coffee banner on our site, right there, Jimmy Church Radio. Use the promo code F2BBLEND, and you will get 15% off of your order. River Moon Coffee. All right, our guest tonight, Sebastien Martin. I said Sebastian Bach. Do you know who Sebastian Bach is?
No.
Okay. You would laugh if you did. And I don't even want to switch over to Twitter right now. He's a great, great, great singer. But it just slipped out, Sebastian Bach. Sebastian Martin's our guest tonight. Now, a couple of questions that I have for you, Sebastian. One is this. What about blood type? Have you had your blood checked, and have you received any information about blood types or negative blood types?
I am actually A positive. My wife is AB negative. And both of our children are AB negative.
Ah, that's interesting.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. And what about, well, I know we're going to read a, yes, Sebastian Bach. Yeah, everybody's reacting. Ha ha. Okay, I get it. Okay. All right. Is this, we're going to get into this now, but the question is, why you? So before you answer that question, I also want to know if there are others like you and if you have been told this. So as you, well, let's go back to Mount Shasta because we're not finished with that part of the story, but you also need to resolve in your own mind what Mount Shasta meant, right? Okay, yeah. So let's go back to the sighting. What happened after the sighting?
Okay, so while I had my experience there, I actually brought a book with me about the Lemurian people of Mount Shasta that was written up in the 1930s.
Right.
And I grabbed that book from my library, and that book was amongst hundreds of other books I have. And the light was off. I just grabbed any book from my library to read on the airplane and while I was there. And the only book I had from a friend who passed away and donated his library to me in his will, basically was about Mount Shasta and the Lemurian people of Mount Shasta, and it was the only book I had about Mount Shasta. So that was a huge coincidence. So I read a bit about the Lemurian people of Mount Shasta, but it was still very blurry to me. Again, I felt really no real connections to them. So when I went back home, I was still left with that strange experience, but also, still an amazing experience of sighting UFOs and these sort of things. But when I went back home, I decided to be in touch with what's called a quantum touch, healing practitioner. I never heard about this before, and I thought I should try it. And again, following the same intuitions that I was guided to, and I decided to meet with that person locally. And she basically just sat down after meeting with me on a chair, and basically I thought she was like snoring. And I thought, I wasted like $100 right here. And she was just like waiting and sitting down there, and I was laying down on a table and just waiting. So because nothing was really happening, I thought, well, might as well relax and just, be comfortable. And because she didn't warn me about what she was about to do. And so I lay down and closed my eyes, and I basically waited. And all of a sudden, I could see all of my chakras one by one after the other in sequence. And then I could see or feel something in my stomach, and then something happening up, like a cold sensation in my feet. And that was kind of events happening one after the other. And so that sensation vanished and nothing happened until vivid visions came back. And I saw myself as in my star body, as brother of Zor, walking on the ground. Basically, it was very desertic looking, lots of rocks with pillars. There was an entrance way with large pillars, and I walked through these pillars, and I was greeted by what seemed to me like Lemurians. And, time went by. Like, I went to Mount Shasta in August of 2015, and I had this experience in October of 2015. So when I went there, lots of time has went by, and I kind of placed it behind me. So when I leave that experience, it felt so real again as a first person, because all the visions I had, that's what I mentioned in the last show, was that I've experienced it as a first person. So I could see my hands, I could see my body, but I could not see my face. And as I walked through those gates, I was greeted by all of these people, again, wearing the same kind of flowing, dresses or just garments. And I was accepted as basically a diplomat. So as a diplomat, as a Pleiadian diplomat, I went down there, and for whatever reason, I heard myself speaking to them and say that I came down to warn them that if they carry on their old ways, they will be destroyed.
By who?
And so
by who? By who? By who?
By the Pleiadians or by the Alliance.
Okay. Let's stop right there. I want to go back. You mentioned something at the top of the show, which was our destruction was caused by them. Who was them?
Well, the Pleiadians mainly, because they are the ones who basically changed and manipulated the DNA for past lives, basically for Lemurians, all the civilizations that came on Earth. They basically genetically modified the genes to have the civilizations that we had in the past.
And
from ancient civilizations.
Now, and Zor was Palladian.
Yes.
So, but you described him as being a pretty cool guy or kid, right?
Yeah. But I guess they are almost on a military order, some sort of. I mean, basically, these civilization, this race, basically have the technologies that are in a fifth dimension, but they also control and they can manipulate the source energy. So the soul energy is not foreign to them whatsoever. They use it at will, and they can split it. They can manipulate it the way they want.
And so now I'm starting to feel like they may be negative. Are they out for our best interest or theirs?
It's not the same. It's not about positive or negative. It's basically just an experience, the same way as they treat us as an experiment, almost. We are hybrids. We are basically part of a larger agenda that does not just cover them. It covers everybody in the universe.
Right.
So it's basically a much deeper role that they are playing that is not just about them. While they care about their own survival, and this was not really shared with me from them, that came later. And that experience to me revealed that maybe Lemurians were destroyed by alien races, and I was partly responsible for it. I mean, when I went there, I was trying to warn them. I was trying to act as a diplomat. I was not feeling threatened. I was pretty much on the same level as them. They were very powerful people too. I was addressing them with respect, and they accepted me as part of their people, and I stayed with them for a while. I didn't just disappear the next day. I'd stay with them for a while. I was invited. And while I stayed there, I was talking to this priestess that basically was very negative. I could feel her negative energy. And while staying there and communicating with her, she seemed to have a larger role. And all of this happened during this hour session, by the way. So it went very quickly. And so when I was talking to her and I felt that her energy could change, for whatever reason, I could feel this very bright energy coming from me that I could control. That was way beyond what I could do today in a way, but it was very powerful, and somehow certain people changed while I was there. But this change basically made the Lemurian people assassinate her, and so they killed her, and that was pretty much the end of almost negotiations or discussions, and I left almost in a hurry. And at that point, I felt threatened.
How so? How so? Because you witnessed this?
Because I was aware of it, and because there was a point of no return for them. And so I went back, and I guess I've shared this experience with the council, and the council decided to terminate the experience with Lemuria and move on.
And so that's why they chose to destroy Lemuria?
Well, partly. I mean, they were already in a very down slope already at that point. But I went there hoping to change things, but it didn't really succeed. So my role as a diplomat was not successful, and I had to go back and report. And whatever came next, obviously, is probably known by other people and so on. But it's just the experience I had. Felt quite negative, obviously, when I was there, and I felt kind of rejected by the Lemurians when I went to Mount Shasta. I didn't know why, but now experiencing this, it was not. I was not hypnotized or anything. I was just relaxing. It felt it made more sense to me. For whatever reason, it just made more sense. And so I went back home and I had this huge headache. And so I emailed the therapist and I said, do you know why? Is it normal for me to have such a huge headache after the session? And she said to me, no. In fact, after the session, I had to, lay down myself because I also had a huge headache. And I basically slept for 2 hours. And I basically, canceled all my appointments. And I feel that we are connected. And I felt that person, that practitioner, was the priestess that I encountered while being in Lemuria, which is very strange, but that's how it felt like. And she felt the same way too.
The history of Lemuria, which most of it is consistent, but I'll say this, your experience with it is completely different than the way it's been documented. Have you written all of this down?
Yes.
Because I think it needs to be thoroughly documented, and then we need to go back and revisit it. Because I'm sure that as you have written it down, what you have reviewed with us now is just a synopsis. There's more detail there too as well.
Right.
And I would like to explore this again on another show, but very, very interesting because I've studied it quite a bit. Let me ask you this, Sebastien. Did you find out a location for Lemuria? Did they reveal that? Did you know?
No, the way it felt like to me is Lemuria was extremely vast. I mean, obviously the whole landscape was not the same way as we have our continents today. Lemuria was most likely part of a large continent that was probably going from Europe to North America, and most likely going from, actually not so much going to Europe directly, but I would say partway to Europe, and most likely extended towards Hawaii and beyond. But it was extremely large. And
so it wasn't a small island or a chain of islands, nothing like that.
Not at all. No, not at all.
We're talking about something the size of the United States or something the size
way
of...
Way larger.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Okay, this is very interesting. This is very, very, very interesting. Okay, what happens next on your journey?
Okay, so basically, as time went by, like when I came from that, I decided in July of 2016 to sell off everything else I had in terms of businesses. I basically was preparing myself to resign from the chairman role with my company, and also director for the local chamber of commerce, which I was voted for, and everything else. And then while I was doing this over the summer, I went to France in September of 2016, and I basically was invited by some local guys to go to a local site to experience. It was called Saint Odile, and it's very famous apparently in France there. Like an airplane crashed in the forest nearby. There's a weird, very ancient history around this site, and with Catars and so on. I think very, very ancient history. And when I was there with those energy healers, they had instruments with them to detect where the energy was flowing from and these sort of things. And I could detect it with my own hands just by walking around the fields, and I could just feel it. It was a very profound experience, but just to do with the energy itself. And so when I came back from that trip very quickly, in September 18th of 2016, I was just in my living room again, and I was just relaxing with the lights full on. It started really at 10:30 at night when I was just checking my Facebook posts and so on, and just reading news and so on. And I could feel this energy basically changing in the room, and almost like an electrical feeling that I could feel in the air, like lots of pressure, and it really disturbed me. And at that point, I basically grabbed my phone and I texted my mother in France, who is an energy healer herself. She basically was practicing Reiki, and she's a Reiki master. And she basically went through like different courses to do with the archangels and to channel the energy directly from the archangels. And all along when she was telling me this, I was, I didn't care, because I never had any religious connections with the archangels or anything else like this. And for not being a religious person, I was still developing this spirituality, but I would not call it religious. And so when I grabbed my phone and texted her, I've asked her, saying, how do you communicate with archangels? And I had no idea why I even wrote that in the first place. And she basically replied to me and said, well, I will tell you when I come to Canada for your birthday in October. And I kept asking her these questions. For whatever reason, I said, what is the protocol? I need one protocol to address them. And she kept, pushing me off, thinking, this is almost like, maybe she thought I was joking, or, she thought that I was not serious enough and I was making fun or something. I don't know. But I was insisting. And at 11:11 exactly, the 5 archangels basically showed up and started to materialize, but not fully like Zoe did. I could see them very clearly, but I could see through them. Like I could see my windows, and I've got like a 17 high ceiling in my living room. It's almost like a pyramid shape. And I could see them very clearly, and it really freaked me out because I was just on my sofa relaxing, and I was not meditating. I was doing nothing whatsoever, and that just showed up. They just showed up. And at that point, I just basically wrote down to my mother in a hurry and said, I don't think you understand, but they are here. And she basically replied to me almost like feeling like it was normal, and saying that, yeah, I feel their energy. They're very strong, and, they're very wise. And I said, well, yes, but I really need to know how to communicate with them. And it felt kind of in a trance, in a way. It was very strange. And while I was looking at them, they were basically they looked like human beings. They were like 6'2", roughly, not very tall. And they had those white robes on with very piercing eyes, looking at me, mute, not speaking at all. And with this very porcelain type of skin and white hair, very long, straight white hair. And one of them had a large book in his hands. And so when I looked at him, he was the one closer to me, and he started walking towards me. And that really panicked me a bit because he was walking towards me, and I could still see through him, almost like a ghost, but it was not like it was very different. He walked towards me and then stopped right on the edge. He was not even like a foot away from me. And I could see him very clearly with his very piercing eyes, and he was like looking at me, almost thinking, hurry up, man, we've got other things to do. And I really didn't know what to do. And my mother then texted me and said, grab the book. And I didn't speak to her about the book in the first place. And so that really astonished me a bit. And I very slowly, with my phone in my right hand, I tried to place my hand underneath the book, and I completely blacked out. Like my phone dropped, and I was no longer in the room per se. I was gone from there, and I was seeing a light source. I was basically thrown out in space, and then those beings started talking to me and starting saying, now we're going to be sharing with you the story of space and time. So that was pretty profound, because while I was traveling through space, they were guiding me through what I've experienced as a Pleiadian on a spaceship. And at that point, they said to me, you've been lied to. And what they were saying by that was that they basically were telling me that the Pleiadians as a race had their own agenda, to do with the human, agenda. And the reason why we had this amnesia, all of human beings have amnesia to do with their own race and trying to look at, the past and all of that. It's basically done on purpose. So we don't really understand where we truly come from, which is the light source. And going through that will be almost shattering their agenda as Pleiadians or part of the Alliance, because then we will no longer obey and will be rebelling against their own agenda and trying to attain basically higher types of consciousness that will be going way beyond theirs. And that's pretty much what these beings shared with me as well on that day. And that felt kind of strange, and I could describe it the same way as I described it last week, about the story of the myth of the cavern with Plato,
right.
And that we are basically living an illusion.
Right.
And this illusion, the way they described it to me while I was in this kind of trance, was that we are living in a fabrication, and this world is a pure fabrication by the aliens, that we live in a collective consciousness that is false. And by raising our consciousness, we will be able to steer away from that dimension and move up to the fourth dimension, which is strange because that's exactly what the Pleiadians and the Alliance is trying to achieve or try to achieve. But at the same time, they almost don't want us to see their flaws. So in that essence, they are sharing their story, saying you are you are basically achieving a mission. You are on a mission, but this is not really a true mission for ourselves. It's a true mission for them. As hybrids, we live their lives. We basically live for them. The same way as we will be living this life as human beings for our governments and the way they decide to enslave us in this world, and that's completely wrong. And when I realized that, I basically had this amnesia completely gone, like everything lifted and everything made total sense to me. And what was interesting is those archangels in the room. Basically, one of them, the one I had the book, was Michael, and Metatron was there as well in the background on the right-hand side of me. And all of these beings were there, but again, why me? Like you said before, I had no idea. I don't feel any special. I do believe there are way, way more people than me here to achieve exactly the same thing,
right,
with different stories.
Right.
But we are all the same. We are all part of the same source. And however we decide to incarnate on this planet at a certain time is to achieve something, to either awaken the souls of this planet and to do different things. But I also believe that this life as we experience it is a pure distraction, because all the negativity that we suffer from is part of this duality that we are thrown into, that is just, again, an illusion, because this illusion does not exist in the cosmos. It's just a pure reality that we have on this planet. And that's what we have to stay away from, because the real true message of consciousness is to stay away from all of these agendas and to basically go back to the light source, which is where all we come from, and that's where we should all aspire to go back to.
So you are saying, and I think you're saying this very clearly, that Michael and Metatron and the archangels and these powerful, powerful angels from the Bible, the voice of God and so forth, are Pleiadian?
No.
Okay.
No, these are way beyond. They basically consider themselves as 11th dimensional beings or even beyond. And they are in direct contact with the light source. And because when I now meditate, my whole body vibrates and I can reach out to the light source very easily.
Right.
It's something that I basically always had, but I never truly understood, because, I just didn't have the words for it. It's just the way it happened. And now that with this encounter, I felt more connected to them. I don't see them as, again, religious beings, like the way our movements have created them or written about them. But I do feel that we basically, there are two separate things. There is the collective consciousness, which is what this world is made of, and then there is the universal consciousness, which is way larger. And by living this life, we are not in a software. I think we are more like in a collective consciousness that was created energetically by fifth dimensional beings and beyond. But whatever we experience is a true nature of the light source. So we have this connection, but we are being stopped by those alien races who want us to achieve their own agenda on this planet so they can raise their own consciousness and move up to the next dimension too. What I understood while communicating with the Pleiadians is that they are interested to recreate the world that they no longer have. So currently they no longer live on a planet. They live on spacecrafts. And their main goal is to recreate a world energetically from moving up to the next dimension, which is exactly what we can create on this planet.
Well, let me jump in right there. We got to take a break, but that's interesting. And we'll finish this thought right after the break. Our guest tonight, Sebastien Martin. We're finishing up where we left off last Wednesday. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And then we're going to open up the phone lines too, 323-825-5045. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap, but did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you have sciatica, then you know all about the crippling pain that travels from your lower back down your leg when a spasm occurs. It's brutal. In fact, it's enough to take your breath away. Dr. Zhang's Sciatica Nerve Cream helps relieve persistent, shooting pains associated with the sciatic nerve in the lower back and legs. This natural, homeopathic cream contains the most potent ingredients to soothe even the most excruciating pain associated with sciatica. Stop the pain now. Ask for Dr. Zhang's Sciatica Nerve Cream at your local health food store or go online to trasknutrition.com.
Would you like relief from muscle pain, headaches, and discomfort to sleep better, have more energy during the day, and just feel naturally amazing? Fibromalic can help. Its blend of malic acid and magnesium can provide pain relief and comfort for those who experience fibromyalgia. It helps your body absorb more oxygen, and it works quickly for a significant reduction in pain within 48 hours, all without a prescription. Ask for Fibromalic at health and vitamin shops or shop fibromalic.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Sebastien Martin. It's Thursday night. It is Fader night. Sebastien accepted our invitation to come back and hang out with all of you, and we're finishing up his story now. I've opened up the phone lines, 323-825-5045, 323-825-5045. And Sebastien, I got a couple of questions I want to get out of the way really quick as I start to line up phone calls here. And the first one is this. What do you think? Do you have any thoughts on what's going on down in Antarctica right now? That seems to be the big news lately.
Right. Well, I do believe that there's always been like an Agarthian type of like kingdom, deep down in Antarctica. And I heard, the stories on cosmic disclosure and all of these things as well about, even the Draco race and the Nordics and all of these races being involved, under caverns underground there. I basically believe that there was something going on with the Nazis back in the 30s and 40s. As to know what happened after that is a big mystery to me, because I don't really have much more to say about that. I mean, when I was probably, I think just in 2000, I was already aware of the story from Admiral Byrd from his book. I think I just came across a story like that he even wrote a book about his experience in Antarctica and having this encounter with those tall beings that were not Nordics. They were much taller than that. And they were just almost like giants, looking for him, I believe. And I don't know if you heard of that book from Admiral Byrd. And he obviously went there as a mission with the U.S. government, and it was kept secret in a way, or most likely undercover. But he went there with a destroyer, and all his fleet got destroyed pretty much, and he came back with like a third of his men. So that story happened. We know that, but obviously they were attacked while being in Antarctica. Most likely, I would say it was to do with technologies from the real technology from the Nazis for what they developed in Germany. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe in. To know if they had any kind of help from alien races down there, maybe, but I can't say for sure. This is not really an experience that I could share, because to me, I don't believe the Draco race or the reptilian race will be involved in that or part of this. But this is just my take on that.
Would you be able to find out or ask about Antarctica and what's going on down there with your next contact?
Yes, I could.
Yeah, we need to. There's something going on down there, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
There's something going on. There's a lot of activity, and just recently, the British had to leave their base until the winter season is over down there. They gave the excuse of a crack being in the ice, which may not be an excuse at all, in that the crack in the ice is formed for a reason, right? So there's a lot of strange things going on. Of course, we have John Kerry and we have Buzz Aldrin. We have the Vatican have all visited. Kerry being down there on the day of the election of all the days, right? Secretary of State is in Antarctica on the day of the election. That just the whole thing feels very, very strange. So if you could see...
Right. I will. What I know, what I can tell you is, many people focus on Antarctica, but there's actually similar events happening in the Arctic as well.
Say that again?
There are similar events happening in the Arctic as well. It's not just in Antarctica.
You mean north?
Yes.
Ah, got you. Really?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, there you go.
It's not as talked about, but it's probably as important what's happening in Antarctica. That's what as much as I can tell you right now.
Okay. And I want to go back to the Lemurians really quick. Do you have a physical description of what they look like?
They look pretty much like humans. Most likely they had darker hair. I couldn't really see any blonde people. It was just they looked very exquisite looking, well dressed. They definitely had this aura. They were definitely like more advanced beings in the sense that they had this energy about them that you could feel if they had a very positive energy or a very negative energy, and you could feel that. Now, I don't know if I could feel that because I was a Pleiadian myself and I was a more advanced being when I went down there, when I met with them. But they basically look like us. They didn't look any taller or different in a way. They look very, very much like us. Yeah.
And what was the technology that you saw in Lemuria?
Well, I didn't see any major technologies. Funny enough, the outside, the structures were very stony looking. I didn't really see many. It was a mix between metal and stones. And when I was inside the buildings, they had like lots of temples. And when I went inside, they had way more technologies inside. So I would say, that could look like alien technology to us, I guess, because they had definitely control and of fusion and nuclear technology. So they already had control over this. So they already knew about these technologies back then. So they were a very advanced civilization, but they were also even more advanced than our current civilization in essence, because they were advanced beings with their soul, but they were, again, trying to steer away from what the Alliance wished for them to achieve. So they were not really interested in to be enlightened, to help the universe. They were, again, thinking for themselves. They had a massive ego that was basically the result of their demise.
Was there any talk about Mars when you were in Lemuria? Was there anything?
Oh yeah, Mars. I mean, they knew already about the solar system and beyond. So they already traveled before, and so they already had their own spacecraft to travel. But some of them even traveled without any spacecrafts whatsoever. So they were extremely advanced beings. That could achieve way more than we can do in our physical bodies today. So they had this ease of an understanding of time traveling and all of that. So they already knew about that.
And what about your position as diplomat? Have you met any other diplomats, and have you communicated with them?
What do you mean here on this planet?
No, well, if that is your position, right. Have you met any other diplomats with your status, and have you communicated with them?
Well, when I went down to Lemuria again through this vision, and what came after that, because obviously I had more downloads, more information coming my way, is that while I was down there, I was being observed, and like some of my guest colleagues were waiting for me, just hovering around. So their spacecrafts as multidimensional spacecrafts, and these spacecrafts, the way I could describe them were, some of them were just like 2 to 3 mans types of spacecrafts to go from one locations to another, going back to the mothership. And those spacecrafts were living energy, like the inside, everything was living in it. So the walls, it was not AI technology, but these colleagues were not so much diplomats. They were more like soldiers in a way. So they were like commanders. They were people like, driving those spacecrafts. There were many of them, but I was not one of the pilots. Even if I could, I was not one of the pilots. I was just like, my role was purely diplomatic, just to talk to them without the use of force or power or anything, just to talk to them. And that didn't really work out. But there were other diplomats, obviously, on the spaceship. And on the mothership I'm talking about. And there were more motherships. There were not just one. Through my hypnosis sessions, I've seen more than just one spaceships around the Earth even. And today, those spaceships are still there and are still around the planet to raise our vibrations, to change the frequency that we are currently suffering from. With this 3D universe, we are now moving to the 4th dimension because there is an urgency to do with the reptilian race potentially coming back to Earth, using their hybrids right now in governments and institutions that are willing and wanting to enslave us. And that's what was shared with me by the Pleiadians. So I didn't really read up about it or listen to people talking about these events themselves, but I know that the urgency about raising our vibration is extremely important because we could be facing them eventually on this planet very, very shortly. So this is why I decided to create this platform, NSUO, I'm just a facilitator trying to, help my contributors promote their truth, their message, so we can all get the tools to basically raise our vibration and move to the next dimension very quickly, because, time is basically of the essence. And so that's pretty much why I decided to do it, in October. And that's when I started the NSUO platform, or working on it and dedicating myself to it, because, I don't really need this personally. I mean, I could just retire and just, enjoy my money and just go on holidays. But this is just, again, it sounds very, childish in a way, because I know there are deeper issues that I feel part of. And I really need to embrace that fully, because it's part of my life. I'm aware of that. And, it's becoming more and more present. And that's the reason why I live in that urgency mode where I need to help more people to network each other worldwide, because this platform is just in its infancy. It's just a platform that is intended to become global, because I want to have more languages on the platform. I want to be in multiple languages, so we can have more information, more groups around the world to heal this planet, and also raise our vibration and to provide more tools to achieve that.
With the destruction of Lemuria, did any of the Lemurians survive?
Oh yes, a lot of them. But a lot of Lemurians who survived, changed their ways, or were given the chance to basically regroup and reassess their position in order to help humanity, or the evolution of humanity moving forward. So they are now big parts of this evolution process, and they are very present. They are definitely around. And, the reason why I've seen them when I went to Mount Shasta is because their energy, is there. They are definitely present. And as a karmic, I guess, solution, I'm here and incarnated in this life form to correct what was done in order to, I guess, open up, some portals to almost like chains that were placed amongst them. So from the alliance, so they could not recreate the world they had. That's the way it was shared with me. So I feel that I'm part of this, but I'm not the only one doing this. I heard that there are a lot of healers who are in Mount Shasta and around, or even in Hawaii, which was part of Lemuria, who are also trying to connect with these beings in order to again raise their vibration, and they are requiring their assistance and request it. And there is a change in their attitude towards this now, because they are understanding that this is part of the evolution process for the universe, not just for themselves or even for us. We are part of a much larger agenda in our own universe, which is just one universe out of many, by the way. And if we just call the light source for our universe belongs to us, but it's just a fragment of other possibilities and other universes that are out there.
With that and the timing of it, and certainly their DNA being spread, and they are probably part of us. What timeline are we talking about here? Do you have an idea? Is this 500,000 years ago? Is this 50,000 years ago? When did this occur?
I could not really place a real time on this, but it was. I would say it was way beyond, 10,000, 20,000 years ago. It could even be longer than that. It's even hard to describe, because their lifespan was so vast. They basically stay on this planet longer than we have as Homo sapiens sapiens. So they basically been around for a long time. And so their presence was, and their evolution gradually evolved to what they became at the end. But they could have been around for, probably, 100,000 years. And their lives were much longer than ours on, today. Like they could have lived for at least 200 to 300 years.
And what else is interesting here is that the 25,000 year period that you're talking about here, that was the end. That was the destruction of Lemuria, correct?
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell you exactly when this occurred exactly. I didn't really ask or looked into it.
Right. Okay. Wow. Okay, let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Sebastian. You're live.
Hello.
You're live.
Hi, this is Liz.
Hi, Liz.
Hi. I was listening to your story. I have part of it, too. And I have the memory of that same time being a chancellor. And at this time, actually, yesterday, I had a message from the Galactic Federation saying that they are coming back pretty soon. And the election of Donald Trump was planned by them to clear up the mess that is right here, right now, and to give more freedom to the human race to grow and to become the beings of light that we are. So they are coming back.
And this was yesterday? This was yesterday?
Just yesterday.
Yeah, so the Galactic Federation, while the Alliance gave up on the human project, some of the races as part of the Federation are still committed to their agenda. They still want us to evolve, and I do believe that the current elections are happening for a reason to shake our belief systems and also the society we live in, because we need a drastic change. I don't believe that Trump's ideas themselves are the greatest. I think it would basically send back America to the coal age. That's what he's planning on doing, not so much using clean energy, which is completely the opposite of what we should be doing and what we should be achieving. But it will certainly, shake our the masses worldwide. And that's exactly what we need in order to raise our vibration. And because we need to be in charge of our own lives on this planet in this lifetime. And by networking each other, we could let the governments do their own thing, suffering from that. But again, I see those things as distractions. To me, everything that is happening that is negative, that sounds negative, should be left behind or placed in a bag, and because it's happening regardless. And we could and most likely we'll die still having those stories happening up all the time. We just need to stay away from that, because it's actually sending us away from the evolution process of our kind and moving up to the next dimension. When we move to 4D, it could happen in our lifetime, by the way, probably in the next 9 years. And what I'm saying that is because we could move into this new dimension, completely removing all the disasters that we are currently suffering from on the planet, including war, the ozone layers, all the issues and the societies, the way they are being developed from the antique times will vanish, and we'll have to welcome a new form of society that would be based on sharing and networking and consciousness and new technologies, just because this is how we can truly evolve, realizing that whatever we believed in 3D was a lie. And by moving to the next dimension, we will be more inclined to then move up to the 5th dimension, which most people would say that it's like 1,000 years away from the fourth dimension. But what nobody realizes is time is just a concept of our 3D time.
Yeah, Liz, let me jump in here and ask you a question. As you have been listening to Sebastian over the last couple of weeks, is this similar to your experience?
Yes, well, my experience was I was a specialist, a biologist, collecting animals that were going to be extinct and bringing to worlds where they could survive. But the overall experience now, it is that I am a chancellor at this time, this lifetime, and I am participating on what they call the shadow government, but not the negative shadow government. The shadow government that is behind everything that's going on right now, the transition time that we're going from this negative timeline to a positive one. And that's the Galactic Federation that is behind it, among other groups too. Of course, And the message I've got was from the Ashtar command. And, Ashtar himself said, go in and tell the world we are here and we are helping with the transition so humanity can prevail and the negativity can be cleared up. That's what's going on right now.
What you get from that, and again, channeling Ashtar and other group beings, is you still suffer from a certain amnesia because once again, they want you to believe whatever they want. It's in essence that yes, their agenda is pure. Yes, they want us to evolve, but at the end of the day, we cannot just rely on them in order to move up to the next dimension. We need to make and do these efforts by ourselves. And by networking with one another on this planet is how we can truly save as many people as possible on this planet. Because unfortunately, the masses today are not awakened to this message, but the vibration that is arising from those frequencies that we are being bombarded with today are helping the masses to waken up. And these world events around, the new governments in America and elsewhere will definitely make people question what's going on, and they will open up to this new consciousness movement that they heard about before. But again, it's like a radio; they haven't really tuned on to or turned a knob at the right frequency yet. But they know it's there. They have to get to the right frequency in order to understand and welcome it, because you cannot just shake them and say, you have to waken up to this consciousness, because they won't listen to, they won't care. A lot of people don't care. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we need to achieve between human beings, is to help them, give them the tools to at least reach out to what is possible on this planet, not by asking them to be open to Ashtar and other groupings, because they simply won't be able to do it by themselves. It's almost impossible. They can, accept gurus, they can accept, messages from, yourself, myself, and other people, but it's just not enough. You need to provide them tools in order to achieve this.
Liz, thank you for the phone call, and we're up against a break here, but thank you so much. Very interesting, and don't be a stranger. And if you do get another update, please let us know.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
What a great phone call. I wanted to ask you as we head into this break, I get email every day from somebody representing the Ashtar Command and parts of the Galactic Federation, and I read it and I tend to try to follow it. But you said something interesting there to Liz, which is that channeling this or accessing that kind of information, or people that do, may be misled. And why would you say that so directly, Sebastien?
Well, just because channeling is one's interpretation to whatever is being shared, and if, for example,
you do not channel.
No, I don't channel. I don't really ask, questions in essence. That I'm not really trying to focus on one being in particular. If I have direct connections, it has been mostly physical, or it's been through different beings that I could recognize. Basically, those archangels, appear to me. I did not just hear them. I didn't even seek, their advice or anything else. It's just information. Very strong information that was shared with me, and I just had to accept it. But all I'm saying is, what I believe that my experience with the Pleiadians was one of, I guess, fifth dimensional beings, interacting with me and sharing stories. Great. But at the end of the day, the 11th dimensional beings that showed up and shared information with me completely turned that upside down. And so I had to question myself about, what truly was the message, what was my mission that was shared by the Pleiadians, because again, those beings are like us. They are just simply more evolved, but they still have their own agenda, which is not shared by the light beings which are way beyond the Ashtar command and the Pleiadians or the Greys. We are looking at the light source, that where all of our souls, come from, where we all originate from.
Well,
that's exactly what we're trying to aspire to, is to come back there.
Okay, let's take a break right there. Our guest tonight, Sebastien Martin. Open lines, 323-825-5045. I'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap, but did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you have sciatica, then you know all about the crippling pain that travels from your lower back down your leg when a spasm occurs. It's brutal. In fact, it's enough to take your breath away. Dr. Zhang's sciatica nerve cream helps relieve persistent, shooting pains associated with the sciatic nerve in the lower back and legs. This natural, homeopathic cream contains the most potent ingredients to soothe even the most excruciating pain associated with sciatica. Stop the pain now. Ask for Dr. Zhang's sciatica nerve cream at your local health food store or go online to trasknutrition.com.
Would you like relief from muscle pain, headaches, and discomfort to sleep better, have more energy during the day, and just feel naturally amazing? Fibromalic can help. Its blend of malic acid and magnesium can provide pain relief and comfort for those who experience fibromyalgia. It helps your body absorb more oxygen, and it works quickly for a significant reduction in pain within 48 hours, all without a prescription. Ask for Fibromalic at health and vitamin shops or shop fibromalic.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back. Our guest tonight, Sebastien Martin. It's Thursday night. It is Fadernight, everybody. 323-825-5045. All right, Sebastien, so before the break, tying all of this up, you ended up, and I want to get back to the Galactic Federation, and we're going to do that, and Ashtar and the command, but you then ended up out at Contact in the desert. And what did you experience there?
Okay. Well, when I went to Contact in the Desert, that was in June of 2016, and once again I was asked to go there because I had to meet 5 people, and I didn't know who to look for and who to meet exactly. So I went, and I was introduced to the right amount of people that I was looking for there. And I basically was welcoming whatever was coming my way, and I basically was tuning into whatever energy was in that place, because we did meditation work. I basically sat down with like 6,000 people, and we basically meditated. And I was with some friends that I've met there, and all of a sudden I felt during the meditation that I could basically come out of my body very easily. My whole body was vibrating before I could even, or the meditation started. And I was already like thrown into the cosmos and going back to the light source. So I felt that connection so easy, but at the same time without really truly understanding, because I didn't have the experience I had with the archangels at that time. What was very interesting at that point is I also purchased a pendant that I was just like drawn to that pendant. I didn't know what it was until later. And I discovered that the pendant was Metatron's cube. And, I basically I've seen the UFOs. I think I discussed that last time. I had some UFO sightings even when I was driving back to my hotel at 22 Palms, or 29 Palms, sorry. And I saw this UFO in the sky just on the drive, as I was driving back to my hotel. So, I was also talking to people there, and,
What night did you see the object in the sky?
That's in. I could not. I think it was 2 days before the event, when the event ended.
2 days before the event ended. So what?
Right.
Saturday night.
I guess so. I can't even remember the dates exactly. Like, I was, I didn't really check the agenda,
right.
But it was towards the end of the, of the conference. And then I used to stay up late with people there talking, and I was invited by speakers, and I was just like meeting a lot of people, and I felt like at home, like I was talking to them and very fluently in their field. And I just didn't know where this came from. It just came out, just access this information and knowledge while talking to them. And, it felt good. It felt right. But at the same time, I basically connected with, more people that, like Sherry from Conscious Creative, who designed our trailer for Ensuo, which I've met at Contact in the Desert. And she later on recommended me to contact someone from my home country in France to do like a reading to access the Akashic records. And, that was just like one of the people I've met, and those kind of events just, unfolded that way. Maybe when I met those people at the time, I didn't know exactly, how I would be, interacting with them, but we always bumped into each other. We just, out of all these people in the crowd, we kept, seeing each other every day. So after a while, we just like stick together, and it was just the way it was.
Yeah, that's what you get at those events. And before we go back to the phones here, I have a question. What's a better wine, Bordeaux or Burgundy?
Well, I'm actually from the Bordeaux region, so my opinion could be quite biased, but I prefer Bordeaux personally. It's a lighter wine.
Okay, that's fair enough. Fair enough. So you're just saying your answer is biased. I get it. Fair enough. Okay,
right.
Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Sebastian.
Hey, Sebastian. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great, thanks. This is John T. from Twitter. Thanks for taking my call, Jimmy.
Right on, John. What have you got for Sebastian?
Well, I got to say, Sebastian, thank you so much for coming on Fade to Black and sharing your story, because it's really touched me.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for listening.
Oh my gosh, it's hard not to. I mean, you've got a great story, and one of the things I love about it is you're when you were talking about not channeling these entities that may have agendas. Mm-hmm. Because I had a very profound spiritual experience back in '86 where I had been trying to get saved. You know, the thing back in the day was to get saved by Jesus and all of this. And I don't want to discount those experiences for people that have had that, but I prayed that prayer over and over and over, and I never felt anything. Nothing happened. Mm-hmm. And one day I was watching a TV program. It was the 700 Club on TV, and I just was flipping it on, and they said, call this number to get a prayer packet, and they'll teach you how to pray. And I thought, well, okay, I'll call, see what happens. I got in touch with someone, and he goes, well, are you saved? And I said, well, I don't know. I pray this prayer all the time. I guess so. I was baptized as a kid, and my family goes to church, but I don't know. I think. And he goes, okay, great. Do you want to be baptized in the Holy Spirit? And I said, well, I don't have any idea what that is. And he goes, well, do you want to be? And I go, well, I guess. And he goes, well, pray this prayer with me. And I said, okay. So I'm literally lying in bed. I sit up. I close my eyes, and I just repeat some words. And when I'm done, the only way I can describe it is I started buzzing all over. Like I physically felt buzzing. And the only thing I could compare it to at the time, and I was 19, I guess, 18, 19, and I just started vibrating. And the only thing I can compare it to is like being drunk. But ever since then, I tried to go to Christian church. I tried to do the thing and couldn't do it. I did it for a while, but I've always been looking for, my spirituality has been evolving in a way that is totally not like anybody else's I know. And your confirmation tonight really helped me more than you will ever know. And so I just wanted to thank you for that and kind of share the story. Plus, Rita told me to call. What am I going to do? Not call when Rita tells me to?
Well, no, that's it. Well, but you need to share that experience. And before I let you go, John, did you have a question for Sebastien?
Gosh, yeah. Sebastien, I don't know. What do you suggest with everything that we see, with all the frustration in the world right now, with Trump coming into the presidency? Do you have any suggestions for how we can all deal with this and how we can all get onto that better plane faster, or that better timeline faster?
Yeah, it's exactly the way I described it earlier is, again, perceiving these as, live experiences, as distractions. And so when we meditate or when we want to just go into that peaceful state of mind, that's when we can truly reconnect to the light source. We can just bypass all what is in our 3D world and even beyond with the aliens. I think many people may have issues with just, what we've experienced on this planet already, let alone aliens and let alone the light source, because you have to bypass all of these factors in order to reach out to the light. And we are all light beings. Our souls, originate from a very pure, simple source. And that's what we need to truly reconnect to. And we can only achieve that state, that the way you described at 19 years old, that's most likely what your body was already telling you. You were trying to go back to that state. And you had this ease of, possible connection that you should try to reconnect to. Because, that's exactly what you should be experiencing when you're in that state. And recreating that is, rethinking as to, what happened on that day when this happened to you. I would even suggest going through in hypnosis sessions to remember exactly that day, what happened exactly around that day that you could recreate, duplicate, to achieve that state of mind again.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks, Jimmy, and for all you guys do. Just love the show. Appreciate it. And hey to all the Fadernights.
Thank you so much, John. Be safe out there, my friend.
Thank you, John.
All right, you too. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Now, what do you think tomorrow Trump is, he's going to get a top secret dump, right? He's going to get that coming at him. Do you think there's going to be a mention of the Galactic Federation? Do the feds know the official?
No. I doubt it.
Okay, just like that, you doubt it. Okay, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Sebastian.
Oh, hi, Sebastian. This is Colleen in California.
Hi, Colleen.
Hi. Do you have any remedy for when what hits the fan during this Trump administration? And I do believe that things are going to go south very fast. Just when and how, I don't know. But I've heard it from so many sources that don't think he's going to finish out 4 years if he even gets halfway there.
Right.
What do you recommend for us to do personally? And is it going to be something that we can transcend individually,
Yes.
when bad
completely.
things happen? And the other thing, I have a question for you, Jimmy.
Well, hold on, Sebastian.
Okay.
She's got another question. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Oh, and Jimmy, when and where are you going to be on TV?
Oh, okay. I'll answer that in a little bit. Okay, so one for me and one for you. Okay, Sebastian, go ahead.
All right. So yes, I do believe that we can transcend that state because once again, as a distraction, you just have to stay away from what is happening and just truly focus on what you can do to stay away from that 3D role and move up to the four dimension because, this is the time where, we need to start connecting to what truly is of value for our souls, because what could happen, for example, with Trump's governments and moving on, will be like a total disaster, for example, and then will happen. What would happen if you have martial law and you've got some FEMA camps established and all the humans have to go into those camps? Then what? I mean, at the end of the day, if there is a total blackout, and let's say in the worst case scenario there is no internet, there is no communication happening, how do you expect to communicate with one another on a larger scale in order to evolve? Because truly right now we have this opportunity of networking each other through the internet, but beyond that, like I was able to go through meditations with people in California and Japan, and we also the same thing. It just happened. One of my contributors on the ENSO website is Amelia Eon Karis, and she has great tools to share with people. Wants to evolve, and she's sharing this message all the time. And this is why I'm here is to facilitate their work, so we can practice all of these. Use all these tools to understand exactly what's our role here and how we can evolve faster and staying away from all of these distractions, because one way or the other, it will happen. But if we move to the 4D role, you say that Trump's government might not last or might not finish his term. Well, that could also be due to the fact that we'll be moving on to a 4D situation where all of that will no longer make any sense, and we'll have no choice but moving up to the 4D situation.
Okay, so really quick, I want to try to get in a couple of more phone calls, and thank you for the phone call, Colleen, and I'll answer your question before the end of the show.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you,
right,
Colleen.
yeah, let's go back to the phones here. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Sebastian.
Hey, Sebastian, how you doing, brother?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Great. This is Brad. I had a quick question. I noticed as my consciousness is getting higher in elevation, I guess, and I'm noticing like my friends around me aren't really going anywhere. I kind of see like maybe a negative kind of baggage they're holding, like maybe some kind of entity holding them back. How do you feel about that?
Oh, great question, Brad, and thank you so much for that.
Sometimes some people don't have that level of awareness because, sometimes nothing happened to them. They could be just earthly souls that just incarnated, over and over and over, but without truly understanding or even caring about what's going on about the world. So they are drawn to this negativity that is currently in this 3D, and they are anchoring themselves into this reality. while you're already aware of more than that because maybe your soul has a different origin. So that's what I truly believe. And we are here, every one of us, we are all here to help one another and to help each other to awaken the collective consciousness state so we can move away from this illusion and moving up to the fourth dimension and beyond. So I've been fortunate enough myself to go to 4D and 5D and then come back into the 3D system, because once you reach up to the higher dimensions, space and time, is a very easy, way to just forget, because it's just one timeline and you can just go from past, present, and future very, very easily. It's just, again, a concept of our 3D world. So by helping those people, you can just simply help them by being present with them. And if you try to convince them, most likely they will just reject your ideas and your thoughts because they're not ready. I had a situation like this with a friend of mine who lives in Japan, who basically got frustrated. And he was basically going through anger in his school. He's a teacher, and he was offered for anger management. The school offered him meditation as a tool. And when he actually practiced that religiously every day, because he had to, he basically started opening up to this consciousness that we talk about. And over Christmas, we talked for the first time about what I've been talking about for the last 5 years. And for the first time, we had a very genuine conversation, including more people out of my group. And I'm talking about lawyers and accountants and doctors who are not really open to these discussions, but they were listening in, and they just even if they were not there, they were just more curious. And that's exactly the role that everybody lives through in this lifetime, and the frequency that we're being presented with will help us change these frequencies. Some might not be ready or fully ready to get up to the fourth dimension, and we are here to help them going up to the fourth dimension. So once we go up to the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension, we will be able to go back to what we consider hell, basically, in our 3D world, if it's still ongoing, and we will be able to change that, moving from one onion layer to another. And that's exactly what our role should be. So you're on the right path, you are doing the right thing, but you should not try to convince anybody to move up to the next dimension or to be open to the consciousness movement. The only thing you can do is to make them aware that it exists and that you're okay with it. There's no shame to have to be aware of that and to discuss it. Trust me, I've gone through that myself. I'm meeting my own challenges with my own friends and family, and that's the way it is. I was a very different person 5 years ago. And so that's exactly what I would encourage you to do, is to be a help of your friends and others to stay away from this negativity.
Thank you so much, Sebastien. Great show tonight. Please share with everybody how we can contact you and get some more information.
Yes, so people can go simply on the platform nsuho.com, so it's nsuho.com, or consciousnessplus.com. That's another domain name that I purchased to make it easier on you. And you can also reach out to me from this website through the social media platforms, and also email me at contact@nsuho.com.
Thank you so much, Sebastien. Be safe, and let's get through this inauguration tomorrow, and then let's see what 2017 has in store for us all. Thank you so much, Sebastien. Be safe.
Thank you, Jimmy, again. Thank you.
You got
Bye-bye.
it. Thank you so much. Sebastien Martin, everybody. His links and his website are over at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Wow, another Fadernight. I want to remind everybody before I start to wind things down here. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, Fade to Black is going live. It will be our special broadcast for the inauguration. It will be your guide through the inauguration. We will be taking your phone calls. Andrew Bishago is going to come in here and co-host with me. We've got a couple of special guests lined up, and we're also going to take your phone calls. So that'll be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. With that, I've got some breaking news here that I want to get out there really quick that I find fascinating. And that is, well, hold on for a second here. I think this is Les. Les, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, hang on, Les. I've got a couple of things I want to get out of the way. The Mexican drug lord El Chapo, Joaquin Guzman, has been extradited to the United States where he faces 6 indictments. Unbelievable. I guess he had enough of the Mexican prison system. He faces charges in Arizona, California, Texas, Illinois, New York, Florida, and New Hampshire. There you go. Also, the Pentagon announced earlier today that 4 more inmates are transferred out of Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, marking the final transfer under President Barack Obama and leaving the facility's population to 41. Another big news story that is absolutely extraordinary. Archaeologists claim to have found the site of the lost kingdom of Reged, the most elusive of all the 6th century kingdoms of the Dark Ages in Britain. The mysterious kingdom was preeminent in northern Britain in the 6th century, but faded into obscurity because it was deliberately destroyed at the beginning of the following century. They've never been able to find it. They have now. It's at Trustees Hill, which overlooks the Fleet Valley in Galloway in southwest Scotland. It's absolutely incredible. And let's see, I had one more thing really quick. A crew of 6 scientists and engineers are getting ready for an 8-month mock mission for Mars. That's right. This is going to take place over in Hawaii, the Hawaii Space Exploration Analog and Simulation. It's called High Seas, which is funded by NASA to simulate what it would be like to make contact on people from Earth, a million miles away. All of their communications will be delayed 20 minutes. There you go. All right, let's see. I've got a couple of other things. I'm going to pick up on this tomorrow, but one of the crazy stories out there is Jeff Bezos of Amazon was the anonymous buyer of the biggest house in Washington, D.C. Yeah, 27,000 square feet. It used to be a textile museum, and he bought it for $23 million in cash. That's right. He's going to be neighbors with the Obamas and the Trumps. All right, Les, how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, I'm good. Very good. I got to hang out with the fam, and it was a very good night. One thing, if you ever get to talk to him again, and you will, I want you to ask him for me, what mantra does he use when he's trying to enlighten himself and keep that darkness away? Do that for me, will you?
I know what it is. He already told me.
Really?
Yeah, it's LJ3, 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 LJ3,
Yeah, right.
LJ3. That's what he does. That's what he said. Why? Does that mean something to you?
No, not really.
Okay. all right.
Enlightenment. LJ3 means enlightenment.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. You ready for tomorrow?
No, not really.
Okay. That's a good answer, Les. But do you have a choice?
No. We all have to take a bite. Let's just say that.
Well, I had said to somebody earlier today, you know what? We just got to write it out. It's going to be good. It's going to be bad. It's going to be both. I don't think there's going to be any gray area here. That's my firm belief. I just think it's something that is something we're going to have to roll with. So with that, Les,
we will.
Take us out of here, brother.
All right. Special thanks to Jon Rappoport and all of the first-time callers and Fadernight who phoned home tonight. Fade to Black executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Special thanks to LJ3, that's me, Renee, Jonas, Mark. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Brother Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Faded by Dale. Webmaster is Drew, the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. And with that, almost for the week, Jimmy and I are out of here.
Thank you so much, Les. We'll see you tomorrow.
Love you, brother.
Love you right back. LJ3. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, our inauguration special with co-host Andrew Bashaga. We'll see everybody in a couple hours. Until then, be safe. Go Beckley Tapping.